So, Loki, episode 4. Let's talk non-spoilers first, then we will get into spoilers. Also, let's just address, I guess, straight from the off that a whole bunch of people really hate this show. And I find that to be genuinely surprising, because I started out not particularly enamoured with it, but I've grown to really enjoy it so far. So maybe I'm the odd one out, but I've really enjoyed this. Genuinely, it's just getting better and better and better. It's genuinely a interesting, quite well thought out show, I believe anyway. Episode 3 was really good. People say it was filler. But for me, that character development matters. And obviously, in today's episode, we actually get the payoff of that character development. It was important. It was really important. So yeah, I just thought I'd say that from the off. If you're one of those people that really hate it, please do let me know why. I'd be curious as to know why, I guess. But this episode was great. As said, we had all of that payoff, which was set up in episode 3. A lot of people accuse shows of just doing filler episodes when, you know, you got to take a step back when there's some exposition, some discussion, some backstory, some slow down pace for emotional connection. That's not filler. That's character development, and that's what episode 3 was, and worked very well leading into episode 4. So yeah, really enjoyed this episode. Trying to talk as non-spoilery as possible. A lot happens. A lot happens. Obviously, they're left on Lamentis at the end of episode 3. And you're probably wondering, like, oh, how are they going to get off? It's pretty obvious how they would get off. But it's interesting in terms of how that occurs. And to discuss it in a non-spoilery way, I think what we're seeing here, quite tragically, but also quite funny, I guess sort of ironically as well, is the only individual that Loki has ever seemingly liked is himself. A variant version of himself. And that was interesting. Sort of like a introspective, but not, because obviously he's not actually looking at himself, is he? He's looking at a version of himself. So they obviously find themselves back at the TVA, and good God, do a lot of things happen. I can't say any of them in non-spoilers, but I've really enjoyed this show. I will still agree from the off that I think a lot of people were expecting other things, because that trailer was pretty action-packed, pretty, you know, witticism heavy. Whereas this, you know, it's not that. It's not very action-packed. It's not witticism heavy. It's not him jumping through the timeline like we were sort of led to believe. So I do feel like Marvel really do need to get a handle on how they market their shows. Because WandaVision was similar-ish. And this is the same. They just don't know how to market their shows. But I've really enjoyed this. The set pieces were great in this episode. The effects were really good. Aside from the really wonky green screen of them on Lamentis. That was really bad, actually. As all the rocks are coming down and they're kind of sat there. Part of it's in the trailer. They're sat there near like a, you know, like a lake and things like that on some boulders. It's all the purple, pinky, purpley hues look beautiful, really nice. But then you've got wonky green screen of the the moon blowing up around them. Not that good. But I can't fault the set pieces. The set pieces are great. Really good. Owen Wilson, fantastic. Actually really good in this one. Genuinely really good. Not just doing his wow all the bloody time. So that was good. I'm going to have to just talk about spoilers now. I can't reveal anything with non-spoilers. But go and watch it. I don't know if it's going to turn anyone around who didn't like episode 3. I think if you didn't like episode 3, maybe give it a chance. But if you're really tuned out, I wouldn't recommend it, just because I don't think you'll find the payoff to be that exciting, to be perfectly honest. And it's not an exciting payoff. It's a good payoff, but it's not exciting. So I don't think you guys would appreciate it if you didn't like episode 3. So I can't recommend it to those types. But anyone else, yeah, go and watch it. It's good. It's really good. So here we go. Spoiler warning. Oh, lots happens, ladies and gents. Lots happens. We meet, finally, the Timekeepers. The Time Lords, as I called them in last episode's review. I was on my Doctor Who trip. The Time Lords, we meet them. Not bad. The effects were not bad. Didn't hate it. I wouldn't say it was the best effects ever. Now, how this comes around is they touch one another. on Lamentis, and that's Loki, our Loki, not Sylvie, but our Loki, essentially falling in love with himself, but not himself, because there's a different version of himself. It's complicated, but I think it's quite an interesting dynamic to have, and him actually only caring and turning himself around. It fits his character. The only person he ever really likes, and only person he ever clearly has feelings for, is himself. And I think that's quite funny. There's some sort of dark humour in that, to be perfectly honest. But that causes a big Nexus event, massive spike, which then causes the TVA to know exactly where they are, so they swoop in. But from there, it's basically backwards and forwards with Loki and Morbius. Loki trying to convince Morbius that they're being lied to by the TVA. The TVA's lying to them all. They're all variants, basically what Sylvie said. And we get an interesting dynamic between Sylvie and B-15, Hunter B-15. She swoops in because she's rekindling some memories. So she essentially kidnaps Sylvie, goes back to another apocalypse, the one in episode 2, and goes, what happened? Basically, fill me in on everything. Tell me what I saw. And this is the kind of thing starting to unravel here for the TVA. Morbius gets pruned, which was, you know, not nice to watch, actually, and I think he'll probably come back. Hopefully he comes back. I want to see him on a jet ski by the end of this season. And then so does Tom Hiddleston's Loki as well. He gets pruned. Killed after they finally reach the Time Lords, the Timekeepers, and they realise that they're actually androids. Okay, interesting. I thought that would probably be the case. That they wouldn't be who they say they are. It's not that much of a stretch, to be perfectly honest. I'm intrigued to find out who they actually are, though, now. Whether there will be anyone, you know, any greater, bigger mastermind behind them. I'm sure there will be. So then Tom Hiddleston gets killed, Loki gets killed, and Sylvie threatens the... I can't remember her name, but the woman, the head honcho woman that's been in this show. Basically says, I'm not going to kill you, you're going to tell me everything. And then that's where it closes. But there's a bit more backstory with Sylvie. Sylvie's essentially labelled for termination as a variant as a child. So that was quite heartbreaking. It's not very nice. Not heartbreaking, but you know what I mean. It adds good backstory anyway, which is, again, that sort of payoff. And that dynamic, that character development we had, them talking and things like that. The payoff is, obviously, they like one another, which I found quite interesting. And Tom Hiddleston gets pruned the moment he's about to tell her. Just can't catch a break, can he? But then there is a post-credit scene with more Lokis, I think. I'm pretty certain they're all Lokis. The only thing that's confusing me is the dude with the hammer. Because he's got a hammer. I don't know if that means that he's a Loki, but I'm going to say that they're all Loki variants. So they're not actually in hell. I don't know where they are, but this is where obviously the Lokis go when they're pruned. Maybe anyone else goes where they're pruned. But they say, come with us if you want to live. And that's where it's left off. I'm really intrigued to see where this goes. I still like this show. Didn't like it at the start. I do now. Don't hate it. Sue me. But let me know what you think if you did watch it down below in the comment section. If you stayed this long and you're new, please do hit subscribe. You clearly enjoyed this review. Stay tuned for more weekly, and also hit that like button on your way out. Thank you so much though, guys. Take care.